Yo, man, Sean G, man, listen, I keep telling y'all, man, I know y'all get tired of me telling you, but I got the dopest channel on YouTube now. I got the dopest podcast on YouTube. I got my man here. Yo, Charles, what's up, man?
Man, what's up with it, man? How you be?
I'm all right. What's going on with you?
Man, taking it easy, man. Appreciate you for having me on your show.
You got it.
Nice opportunity here, man. Welcome to St. Louis, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
Welcome to Lily P's, our humble home, restaurant/club.
Listen, we out here, we at Lily Peace, but we're going to get in there later. Yo, Charles, number one, thank you for coming to my joint in Miami.
Appreciate that.
We met before Miami. We spoke on the phone, and you told me a little bit about your story, and I want to get into that now. Where you from?
Man, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, Walnut Port, North Side, better known as the BAD.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
What's your full name?
Charles James.
Charles James. What hospital you was born in?
Shit, boy, goddamn. I was born in Barnes Jewish Hospital.
In St. Louis?
St. Louis, Missouri.
What elementary school you went to?
I went to a few of them, actually. I went to Zion Lutheran, which was Lutheran school. It was out in the suburbs of what we call in St. Louis, Ferguson, Missouri. I went to St. Matthew's Lutheran. Now that was in the hood, down on the north side of St. Louis, down where I'm from. That was elementary, yeah.
Two-parent household, one-parent household?
Nah, I grew up in a household with my granny on the block.
What's your grandmother's name?
My grandma's name, rest in peace, Estella Amelia Davidson.
Man, shout out to Estella, man.
Appreciate that. My mom, I went to my mom's house on the weekend. She worked tirelessly. My father was deceased, got killed when I was 2, turning 3.
So you was pretty much raised by your grandmother?
Yeah, I was raised by my grandma and my aunt.
Okay. What kind of childhood you had, Charles?
Shit, man. One, I'm gonna stay like this. I was raised by my grandmama, so back then in this era, I was born in '79, so that means I'm 70s baby, but I was raised in the '80s era. So back then, you know, grandmas back then had a lot of kids. My granny had 16 kids, 4 deceased at that time, and 12 was living, and we stayed in a 1-bedroom house. So therefore, I had a lot of sleepless nights on floors, and you know, having to deal with jealous cousins and all that. That was my granny's favorite, you know, and shit, I had a rough one, you know what I'm saying? I really had a rough one. It was something else. It was shit. I always had to protect me. I always had to fight for anybody trying to take something from me that I didn't acquire from my granny, or you know, just a bunch of jealousy involved. You know, not only was I the one grandkid she raised, but out of 12 children, out of them 12 children, I think she had probably about 8 other grandchildren in her as well that she was raising as well. But I was her favorite, and so the other kids really didn't like that. But they didn't like it, but they looked up to me at the same time, because I was one of the ones that you couldn't get nothing off on. I was one of the ones that get out of line, I'm gonna punch you on your shit and dare you to go tell them, because I ain't gonna get no trouble, because in her eyes I couldn't do no wrong.
Charles, regular childhood, you played sports, you played outside after school, that kind of thing?
Man, I'm gonna say from probably age 5 to about 8, I played in front of the house. Like, we grew up in a neighborhood where shit, you fuck around across that street, you might not come back, kid or no kid. And so she tried to keep a real tight grip on us. So, you know, we was the kids that shit, when the street lights came on, we was either on the porch or in the house, but we weren't able to really go outside past that front porch. And see, in my neighborhood, we own the first 2 corner houses.
Okay.
So, with that being said, we had to range from house to house, which led to the corner, but we couldn't go on the corner. You hit that bush and you go on that corner, your ass going in the house getting your ass whooped.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So from 5 to 8, I could say I pretty much had a decent upbringing. I seen a lot still, because right across that corner was the set.
Okay.
So
Where'd you go to middle school?
Middle school, I went to the DCIG program called, it was a school called Washington Junior High. It was in the Millville School District, down in, I guess that would be called South County, St. Louis, Missouri.
Where you went to high school at?
High school, I went to a lot of them, man. I started out at Millville, out in South County. Then I went to U City, out in University City in St. Louis. Then I went to Normandy, out in Normandy. Then from there, I went to alternative school, night school, but I graduated from none of them.
Charles, you played any sports in high school, junior high?
I played junior high. I played basketball.
You was nice?
Yeah, I was a little chunky kid, nice. I was pretty decent.
What about high school?
High school, man, by the time high school, when I went to Millville, I started in Millville. I was in the gangs too. I was gang banging and stuff too. So
it was gangs in St. Louis then at that time?
Yeah, this is a big gang city. It's Bloods and Crips down here. You know, and my neighborhood was Bloods.
So that thing that Ice Cube was talking about, let's catch a flight to Missouri, that's real?
Yeah, that was dead ass real. That wasn't no gang. They sent them niggas back up there. We took our corners back down here.
So by high school you gang banged?
Nah, before high school I was gang banging.
What gang you was in?
I was in a Blood gang.
Okay.
And by high school, shit, I was too deep. You know what I'm saying? Junior high is where it started at for me. And so
you ain't playing no sports, you ain't doing none of that now?
I started playing football in high school.
What position you played?
I was a little fat kid. I played center.
Okay,
So yeah, I tried out for quarterback and all that.
The trenches, boy.
Yeah, but that's where they put me at. That ain't where I wanted to go. That's where I end up at.
Yeah.
But I tried out for quarterback. I thought I had an arm or some shit, but I was one of them kids, you couldn't tell me I couldn't do a damn thing. I'm gonna show you I can. You know what I'm saying? So bottom line is, I tried the sport thing. I played baseball as well in junior high. Now, that was my favorite sport. Baseball and basketball was my favorite sport. I was pretty good at baseball.
What position you played?
I played third base.
You was
and
that
shortstop.
high corner.
Yeah, third base and
Coming
shortstop.
down there on third.
You know what I'm saying? Third base and shortstop, I played for what they had back then called the RBI League. You know what I'm saying? And it was actually for a community. It wasn't for school. It was for the community that I played.
Could you hit?
Yeah, I could hit my ass off. I actually was nice at baseball than I was at basketball. You know what I'm saying? But again, like I said, life started going a different way for me. And by the time I hit high school, I got on the football field. I never played football as younger than high school. I probably played football for about 2 weeks in high school. I'm gonna tell you this story. But at the school I started playing football at Millville. It was a gang activity because we all was bused from the city out to the DCIG program to where the white folks was at. You know what I'm saying? And so we already had to deal with all the racism and all that stuff, people having their favoritism with them, but we brought the gang shit out there to the school. So it was Bloods and Crips. So just so happened, like me, it was a couple of us that went from my neighborhood that went to that school, but they wasn't really on what I was on at that time, you know? And so I was kind of like by myself. So the whole football team was full of Crips. And I think it was maybe 2 of us Bloods that was on the football team. So
y'all was on the same team?
On the same team.
Was it static?
Oh, I ain't done yet. Static, that's kind of like an understatement. Shit, that was about to be my first case. So we get into it. Me and a couple of the Crip guys get into it. So I guess they go round up their homies. I get in school suspension. I'm the only one getting in trouble. We don't fight. We just argue, whatever. I get in trouble. I get in school suspension. So I'm in school suspension. And at this time, to go to the football field in the locker room, you had to go through the cafeteria where in school suspension was. So they was talking their shit, throwing up their signs or whatever, and so I'm doing me at the same time. So the next day, it wasn't right. So I had now somebody told me they plan on jumping me. So that night, how I was taught, I put 2 locks in a sock. Went to school, I had in-school suspension again. Next thing I know, the whole football team coming inside the cafeteria, coming towards me, acting like they want to smoke. So what I did was the first nigga that walked up on me, swacked him with the lock in the sock, tore all this up. And the shit, next thing you know, we gone. Man, I'm whacking everybody I could. They beat my ass in the end. But the first 3 motherfuckers felt everything I came with.
So after high school, you didn't finish high school?
Nah, I ain't finished high school.
Okay. So what happens now? You go to the street?
I go full-fledged to the street.
What you getting into?
Man, I'm selling shit, everything. I'm selling weed, crack, gang banging. We riding around with pistols, doing shooting. Never did no robbing or no stuff like that. I never did no scandalous shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm smoking weed, drinking. I'm doing a normal, I guess what you would call a thug shit, you know what I'm saying?
You in your late teens, early 20s at this point? At this point,
I actually dropped out of school when I was 15.
Okay.
And
you went straight into that?
I went straight into that. I probably worked one job within that era between 15 to 19. Probably worked one job. Matter of fact, it was my first job. I actually loved it. It was Wendy's.
Man, shout out to Wendy's, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I worked at Wendy's too when I was in college, man. I used to like to get them hamburgers and french fries with money, man.
Yeah, and so, but that was short-lived, because the thing about it is I worked there for probably about 3 weeks. I got that first check and I went and bought me a quarter ounce. And shit, it was on from there. You know what I'm saying? And
you just full-fledged in the streets at this point?
Full-fledged for the streets at that point, and shit, the money started getting good to me. The women started getting good to me. You know, just my name started getting the buzz outside, so I started feeling myself, and shit, that's where it all began.
How old are you now, Joe?
I'm 42 now.
42.
Yeah.
You got a street name?
Yeah, they used to call me Chunky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the word is out, Chunky moving around.
Yeah, Chunky moving around, and you know, he doing his thing. Then, like I say, my family had a name for themselves all throughout this process. So I kind of like was going and coming through the ranks, you know, even with my family and all that stuff. You know, my family was heavy outside. I'm not gonna disclose any names on that, but my family was heavy outside. And, you know, I just was moving around, you know, and then shit, like I said, my neighborhood, we was definitely, everybody knew who we was when we came through the building. They moved out the way.
All right, now Charles, at some point, you end up in the feds.
Yeah. Now, before we go there, I'm gonna tell you this, how I caused my own demise early on, at 15 actually, because at this point, at 13, my granny had passed, and I ended up going to live with my mom. So.
Why you didn't live with your mother in the first place?
Shit, man. Some say that my mom was too busy. I say my mom hated my father, so when she looked at me, she saw him.
And hated you.
And hated me. Even to this day, we don't have a great relationship, but I still do my best to be the son that I'm supposed to be.
How did that make you feel, Charles, growing up, knowing that you spent, on the weekends, you went to spend time with your mom, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, your grandmother you stayed with was your mother's mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
My father's mother never really dealt with me.
What about your father?
My father was dead.
Okay, so your father gets killed. Your mother, perhaps, maybe doesn't care too much for you because you look too much like your pop. She probably loved him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so what are you thinking growing up, man, about this situation?
Man, at that time, I really didn't have it to think about, because my granny and my aunt, made up all the difference. So
Your
I
mother's
did.
sister.
Yeah, my mama's sister. I never really had to think about because I wasn't missing no love. So it's like, shit, I'm going over my mama's house on the weekend, but I'm going to school and living and being cared for to the fullest with my grandma and my auntie between these two houses.
My man.
You know?
Okay, so now I interrupted you. You were saying something about 13, 15.
So,
It's actually about the feds. You eventually end up in the feds. You
right.
said
So
before
13, I was moving around out, and well, in junior high, I had this. You know, like I said, my people was heavy in the streets, and everything that I was going through and seeing in the streets as well before I actually start moving. I was around this motherfucker faking like I was a drug dealer at fucking 10, 11 years old because, like I said, my people, I seen this shit, I lived through this shit, and I'm going to school with fake dope in my pocket, pretending like I'm some big drug dealer already. And so it's like I just knew where I was going. That's what I wanted to do. You couldn't tell me nothing. Sort of like what y'all seen American Gangster with Tiptoe Frank. He saying, man, I want to be like you, Uncle Frank. You know what I'm saying? And that was really my life. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be like my older cousins. You know what I'm saying? And I actually lived it. You know what I'm saying? And so at 13, I'm moving around. You know, I don't know too much, but I know what I'm doing, and you know what I'm saying. But you know, back then you were learning the ranks and learning the things and whatever the case may be. So skip from 13 to 15. I'm at my mom's house, and I'm in my room, and she really tried. Once I got to her house, she tried to keep me away from my cousins. You know what I'm saying? Because she said she didn't want me to grow up like them, but shit, it's already too late. I've been with these people for 15 years already. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't giving me nothing at that time because they still was like, look, cuz, this ain't for you. You know what I'm saying? So they just keeping me with money, but the whole time, the money they keeping me, I'm going back comping from somewhere else. So, so I'm in my room at my mama's house at 15. I got a plate. This back then. Any real street person know back then you got that plate, you got that hard white, you got that safety pin, and I'm chopping 20s, 50s, and dimes, putting them in a circle, counting them up. Got my plastic bag, tying a knot. My mama busting my room. She catch me bagging up. So she like, boy, what the fuck you doing? I just looked, stuck. All right, nothing. So she came in, she took my plate. She took the plate. I'm like, Ma, what? Ma, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So she threw the shit in the trash. So shit, I'm going through the trash. I'm trying to get all my shit back out there. Like, woman, you just don't know what you just did. This everything I got. I think it was like a half ounce. You know what I'm saying? So I get what I could get. She, boy, you going to jail. You gonna go to jail. You gonna go to jail. Woo. I said, well, mama, guess what? That back then, what I know about jail, they say you go to the feds, you in the big leagues. That's what they said back then. They say you go to the States, you're a peon. You ain't talking about shit. So I told my mama, I looked her in the eye, I said, Mama, at 15 years old, I said, Mama, if I go to jail, it's all right, because I'm going to the feds, because I'm going to be in the big leagues.
At 15, you said
At 15, I said that.
So you living this life. When did you ever did state time before?
No.
You
I
was
caught a
registered?
state case, got probation.
Okay.
I got caught with a gun and got probation. Walked them papers down. I think I was 19 when I caught that case.
When did you catch a Fed case?
I caught a Fed case in 2008.
How old were you?
I was 28 years old.
What you was charged with?
I was charged with possession with the intent to distribute in excess of 50 grams or more crack cocaine.
Talk about that day that it happened.
Well, that day that it happened, see, it was a series of dates that this happened.
When they ran down on you. All right, go ahead.
I mean, they, which the informant, which was a cousin through marriage.
A family member.
Yeah, through marriage.
Black nigga.
Black nigga, young nigga, was with this shit. Had no reason to do it.
Became an
what I'm
informant.
saying? Became an informant. Wore wire on me twice. Inside, back then I had a snack shop and a corner store. I was part owner of a snack shop and I owned I'm part owner of a store and I owned the snack shop outright inside the store. And came in. I knew the people who was watching, the feds was watching through some previous incidents, and I had shut down or whatever, and shut down what could have been telling me and didn't think it was my family. You see what I'm saying? So I had a few bricks left at this time, but they were sold, but I just still had them in my possession for them to come get them. And then I had one miscellaneous 4.5. Now I couldn't go to where, because the people was on me, I couldn't go to where I had no money put up a number because I didn't want them to stumble on what was what. So this 4.5 I had where I could literally touch. And reason I even had it, the reason he was even to set me up is because I was at my snack shop and my deep fryer had broken my snack shop. And in the middle of my deep fryer, like my chicken deep fryer, had broke in the middle of, I'm in the middle of a work shift in the snack shop.
It broke down?
It broke down.
Okay.
And I had to figure something out quick, and I didn't have enough money on me.
Right.
And I couldn't go get no money from nowhere or have nobody, because normally who I would have had running, doing what I need done, they were, the two people was my cousin and a girl I was messing with at the time. Both of them one was at the mall and one was doing something else. I forget what she was doing. But at that time, I couldn't have nobody do nothing for me, but I needed this deep fry like right now. And around the corner in a store called Northway in our neighborhood, a very popular store. I used to mess with them Arabs real tough, and then they had another store called Fire Store over on Riverview and Swicer. And I had remembered that they had told me that they had some equipment for sale. So that needed $3,000. So at that time, I can get to this 4.5 myself and move kind of slick to get it. So that's what I did. I had my little cousin wanted to buy this work.
This is the informant?
This the informant. Came in my store, wanted to buy this work. So
wore a wire on you twice?
Wore a wire on me in his pocket. He had on a flannel with a wire in his top pocket.
Your own family?
My own family twice. First time he came, they sent him to buy 2 1/4, which was 2 ounces and a 1/4 ounce. I didn't have it at the time. I was at one of the houses I was working out of on the block, and I only had like an ounce there at that time. The first time he came, he was
wired. Gave it to him?
Eventually, I gave it to him. He was like, man, because I got this play, and he like, because I got this play, I need 2 1/4. And I'm like, I ain't got 2 1/4. I got like a zip. It was a little under a zip I had right there because I was feeding the dough-fed workers out of it while they was doing work for me. And I say, here, give me 500. You know, at this time, I'm selling ounces for 500, 600, and it depends on who the fuck you is. You know what I'm saying?
Right, so you make the transaction with your cousin, who's the informant.
Right. So they got that right there. So actually, now shit, he set me up 3 times. So make that transaction with him. Now, at first he declined it. Because his instruction was to come and get 50 grams or better. Because that 50 grams at that time triggered that 10-year mandatory minimum.
Right. That was the threshold.
Right. They wanted nothing but 10 years to start with. So he declined and came back around the corner, I guess once he went to report to them. And then came and got the zip.
That's crazy.
So then
talk about the day they came, Charles. The day they came with the windbreaker convention, with the windbreaker jackets, the navy blue. Where you was at?
That was a hell of a day. See, that was a hell of a situation. I was at home at the time. I was married. I was at home in the suburbs of what back then North County was the suburbs. So I was in the suburb of St. Louis in North County, in an unincorporated area. And
you got kids at this point?
yeah, I got kids at this point.
Your kids was there at the house that day?
Yeah, 3 of my children were at the house today. I had a 14-year-old there, I had a 10-year-old there, and I had a 5-year-old there.
So what happened?
So, but it was a serious events that morning. Some good brothers of mine were killed in the process of all this. And that was the morning of the first funeral. They actually got killed together. It was the morning of the first funeral. And I couldn't sleep that morning. And so...
The whole night you couldn't sleep?
That whole night I couldn't sleep. So I ended up falling asleep probably about 4 o'clock that morning. But, you know, back then, you know, we got all these phones. I had about 10 phones. My family phone sitting right here on the nightstand. My family phone ring at, I want to say, 6:46. I remember like it was yesterday, 6:46 in the morning. It was my auntie telling me, get out of there. They just kicked Missy House in. They let the kids come out. That was the girl who I was dealing with on the block. That was one of my stash houses. They just kicked her house in. They woke the kids up over there with AR-15s, and some of the kids on the couch, and they poking them on the couch with the gun and everything. So they let the kids go out. And at that time, remember I told you that we grew up. We had 2 houses on that block, and at the time, my auntie had stayed still on that block in 2000 and no, I'm lying. It was 2009 I got indicted. So it was 2009. So
she called to you to get out of the house.
And the kids went and ran to my auntie's house, and before she said, the baby said, call my daddy. I heard him say they on his way to his house. But so she called me, and I answered the phone. She said, get out of there now. They on their way to your house. So I jumped up, grabbed my I had a handheld safe at the time, grabbed everything that I could grab, and I ran, jumped in, went to the garage, jumped in the car. At that time, I had factory blue Magnum, but I had just painted it black. By the time I pull out my driveway, and I stayed on the cul-de-sac, by the time I pull out my driveway, and I get around the cul-de-sac, they was looking like they hadn't even set up surveillance or whatever up there for that particular morning, but they had set surveillance. I had seen them like 2 weeks prior before this and pulled up on them because at the same time we had some things going on. I pulled up on them at that time, like my neighbor, like I was the youngest on my block. It was nothing but all old heads in the suburban area. And I was the youngest on the block, so they looked out for us and we looked out for them. And our kids go to school with their grandkids and their kids. And so, man, our neighbor called and said, at one point said that it was a strange vehicle sitting outside the house in the car. And it was in the morning time, like 7-something, when the kids was getting ready to go to school and get on the bus. So I came out the house and I drove around and pulled up on the truck. It was an Envoy, a goldish cream color Envoy with a black man in there. And I pulled up, I'm like, who the fuck is you? Why you sitting right here? Because again, they was snatching kids and shit at this time too down here. So I said, who the fuck are you and why you sitting right here? So he pulled out a badge, but it looked like one of them fucking security badges. It didn't look like a Fed badge or a regular police badge. So I said, what the fuck is that? He told me, I'm a private investigator. I said, who you investigating? So the motherfucker said to me, he said, I can't tell you who I'm investigating, but I can tell you I ain't investigating you. So if you could tell me that, you know, at this time I'm kind of a bright guy, that shit ringing a bell, like, the fuck? So now, before I could get down the street, my phone rang. It's my partner. He say, man, the people outside my house. I look in my rearview mirror, I say, ain't this about a bitch? So they on both of us. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I go.
But get back to the day.
All right, I'm getting to the day. All right, he's gonna cut the chase.
You coming to the cul, you coming out
I
the
come
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac. I look in the rearview mirror, goddamn me, all these motherfucking trucks, F-150s and Suburbans and shit, they done, all in my grass, they all in my house. So I get around the corner, keep going. They don't even see that it's me or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I guess, like I said, they was looking for a blue Magnum. They opened the garage. I had a couple cars at that time, but I was known to be in that Magnum all the time. And so I got away that day. I end up going on a run that day. They went in the house. They didn't get nothing out the other house, the girl house. They went in my house. They told my wife at the time, yeah, your husband being indicted with the possession with the intent to distribute in excess of 50 grams or more cocaine-based product. They saying, yeah, we know he's a gang member. He got this going on. He's the leader of the 4900 Bad Blood Street gang. Got all this shit on article. You know what I'm saying? And like, we need to get him off the streets and blase this and that, you know. And she like, I don't know what you're talking about, and X, Y, Z. And so when they end up, they only had a body warrant. They didn't have a search warrant for the house. They had a search warrant for the girl house because he told them that that's where I keep it at. That's where she gonna do this and she gonna do that for me. And you know what I'm saying? So he kind of like told them what he thought to be the operation. You know what I'm saying? So
they didn't catch you that day.
They didn't catch me that day. So
when did you finally get caught?
So I went on a run for 4 days, and so I had called the lawyer, whatever the case may be. Again, y'all watching this video, worst mistake ever, and fucking with the feds, don't ever call a lawyer. Take your public defender. Time is not gonna change at all. Time is not gonna change. You gotta go by the guidelines. Don't waste your money, put it on your books, or give it to your family. But I called a lawyer, and so he set up a time for me to turn myself in 4 days later. Then we set up a time to turn myself in. I turned myself in. They told me what I was charged with. I'm like, what the fuck? How I'm charged with this? Because at the time, I'm dumbfounded. Like, you saying possession. Possession mean I got caught with, to me. But in this world, possession in the Fed laws, possession with the intent to distribute is a controlled buy. That's what that is.
What did you turn yourself into?
I turned myself into the FBI building down on Market Street.
Downtown St. Louis.
Downtown St. Louis. It was the investigation was FBI, DEA, and ATF because, you know, I'm gang member, I'm on gang file, and they saying we had a war going on, and so it was a lot of different investigations going on. So the FBI is who I had to turn myself into.
Did you see the street anymore after that?
Yeah, I did see the street after that. The lawyer turned myself in. The lawyer got me right back out within a couple hours of me booking process and going through them around that shit. Got me right back out. No, actually, the next day, because I had to see the magistrate. So he got me back out. So I actually had bond for, and then, like I said, also, too, people might not understand this, too, for those that may not in trouble, may one day get in trouble. If you're a productive citizen, I heard a lot of that shit kind of like the prosecutor gonna paint a picture of the worst person in the world. But if your shit line up and you married, got a family, you got a job or entrepreneur company or something like that, you can be on gang file and all that shit, but I've never been convicted of a violent crime. None of that.
You had a clean record at this point?
No, I didn't have a clean record, but at the same time, I didn't actually. Well, they couldn't use nothing. They couldn't use my state cases because it was so old. You know what I'm saying? So at that's what I guess that right there is what I'm getting at. You know, I was a productive citizen. I had community involvement. I had a lot going on for myself. So the judge was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go and get him." He gave me a signature bond. I ain't had to post no bond. He gave me a signature bond. And but the prosecutor said, no, this motherfucker is this, that. This bringing multiple kilos from this place to that place. They gonna paint. That's the job, the prosecutor's job, to paint that prison. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But it's your job, as first and foremost, as a man and woman, to keep your face clean out here while you're doing dirt. So, because that will help you somewhat in the long run. You know what I'm saying?
So Charles, so you eventually plead out?
Yeah, eventually
You go
I
to
pled
trial?
out. Hell no. I'm glad I didn't go to
They
trial
offered you a
because
plea.
they offered me a plea. The first plea was 20 years.
They offered you 240 months.
240 months. First plea was 20 years. And what they did was when they came with the 240 months, they gave me the 50 grams twice, in excess of 50 grams twice. So instead of running it together, they had it running wild and offered me the first plea of 20 years. No, wasn't taking that. You know, so
What you end up eventually taking?
I ended up eventually taking 120 months, 10 years.
10 years. How old were you this time?
At that time, I was 29. I left when I was 29.
So you went, what was the first prison you was designated to?
First prison I was designated to was Marion, Illinois, in the camp. I went to the camp.
Mm-hmm.
First prison.
How you feeling at this point? You when you get busted, you going through this thing, is stress and.
Shit, I was stressed beyond measure.
Tell them.
Like shit, I'm like my whole life just was uprooted, and you know the saying, your whole life could change in 30 seconds. Shit, it shit felt like goddamn me 10 seconds. It was over. Like I'm trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. I just was living life, King Joffrey Jofa.
You got wife, kids, everything.
Wife, kids, business, everything going on for myself and my family, you know. And
then one day it's all over.
One day it's all over. It just, that shit, it was over.
All right, so you hit the camp, FCI Marion, that's in Illinois?
FCI Marion, Illinois, yeah.
How long you stayed up there?
I stayed up there for 3 years. Stayed up there for 3 years.
Where'd you go after that?
Then I went to Elkton, Ohio, and went to the low.
Why did you go from a camp to a low?
Well, I didn't change once I went to that camp. I still was hustling. I still was moving like I was moving on the street because it was wide open. It was like, it was no fence. It was just wide the fuck open. So I still was doing what I needed to do to survive, or just because I had the love for the hustle and I could do it, you know what I'm saying? And
what happened?
Shit, I got, people started same shit on the street.
Ratting?
I got told on twice in one sentence. You know what I'm saying?
In prison?
In prison. Shit, that shit don't stop. The snitching is everywhere. That shit don't stop. I got told on in there. You know what I'm saying? They kicked in the door one day and found a bunch of cigarettes, bunch of cell phones, bunch of bottles of liquor and all that type of stuff. I got caught with 12 McChickens in my locker from McDonald's. So then I go, this was 4th of July. I go to real jail then. First, it was the hole before I went to the low.
They put you in the shoe?
They put me in the shoe over at the USP, in Marion USP. 5 long, hot-ass months too, boy.
In the shoe?
In the shoe.
In the USP?
In the Marion USP, one of the oldest penitentiaries in the world. This place.
That's where John Gotti was?
Yeah. This place right here, nothing but concrete and steel. Nothing but concrete and steel.
So you get shipped to Elkton? I
get shipped to Elkton. That's when shit got real. That's when shit got real. That's where a young man became a real man.
What? Talk to us. Talk to me. What you mean?
All right, like I said, I started in the camp. That shit was the streets. That was child's play. You do what you want. But once you got behind that fence, shit got real. So when I got there, I had to go to the shoe when I get there.
Why?
Because I was a gang member.
Okay.
So when they ask you, you go to the shoe when you first go in the intake, they ask you what gang you in. They know what you in, but you still got to tell them who the fuck you is.
When you go to R&D?
When you go to R&D, they ask you what gang you in. You got any separatists? All this, did you snitch, do all that shit, you know what I'm saying? They know what you did and what you did, and they want to see if you're going to tell the truth or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm a gang member, I'm blood gang. I mean, no, I don't got no separatists. No, I ain't told on nobody. They like, all right, so I had to stay in the shoe for a day. So Lieutenant Butts, funk ass, came around like, yeah, well, listen, now you in real jail now. I read your file. You ain't gonna come in here with this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You gonna get your smack right around here. I'm like, man, fuck you. Who the fuck you think you talking to? So I thought it was a gang. You know what I'm saying? So, man, he say, I got 2 things to tell you. You got a lot of child molesters on this compound, and you got a lot of faggots on this compound. If you fuck with my child molesters, I'm prosecuting your ass. If you fuck with my faggots, I'm prosecuting your ass as a hate crime. Go do your time. We're going to put you out there in general population. Your people going to come get you, whether if it's your St. Louis car or your blood car. They going to come get you and they going to take you and they going to show you the ropes. I'm looking like, yeah, all right.
So how long you stayed at Elton?
Elton, I stayed for 3 years. For 3 years, I stayed at Elton.
So now you down 6 years on the dime.
Now I'm down 6 on the dime.
Does the change? Is there any kind of, at this point, are you starting to look at your life and look at Charles and say like what am I doing here?
Yeah. So again, my first year there, it was kind of it was a hard transition because I still was like, man, fuck you niggas, I ain't running with no car. You niggas can't tell me what to do. None of that shit. I'm grown, nigga. However y'all want to do it, you know, all that. So when I started seeing how the structure was and what was going on, I'm like, damn. So I ended up having a fight with a Mexican. Me and the Mexican get into it, and so they rushed me. Well, I'm whooping 2 of them. Then they do they little the call they make, and shit. We in the bathroom. They come in that motherfucker, goddamn, and they trying to rush me. And just so happened one of the Muslims see what's going on. So man, they come in. Well, me myself down there made a compound of 2,500 go up. You know what I'm saying? So now, motherfuckers handing me knives and all type of shit. Like, damn, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like I said at the camp, goddamn, it was strictly goddamn me fighting, and that was that. But you know, I ain't never had no problems. So this shit happened. They hand me this, and we talking about now we got shot callers and all this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? So that's when shit got real. You know what I'm saying?
You started to ask yourself, Charles started to ask Charles some serious questions?
I started acting like, damn, I'm tripping. I started to tell myself, nigga, you need to get your shit together. This ain't that.
How old are you?
At this point, I'm 33, turning 34 or something like that.
You down 4 or 5 years at this point?
5 years, I think, at this point. 5 going on 6.
And you starting to say, like, something ain't right with this?
Yeah, something ain't right, you know what I'm saying? So then I started getting closer to like the drug program and stuff all like that, right? Trying to get home early. But you know, I done got all these shots at the camp, so that kind of pushed me back a little bit too. So, excuse me. So, with that being said,
you started to look at yourself like, yo, I gotta make some changes here.
And I was hanging around, you know, people that had my same stories. So when I started looking at myself, like, and then I'm looking at all these people, and I'm meeting these different people, and then like again, me beating up the Mexican kind of like got me in a different level. Like, yeah, don't fuck with dude, but you know what I'm saying, and dude 100, because I stood where I stood at. You know what I'm saying? So, and then my paperwork was straight. You know what I'm saying? So
how important is the paperwork, Charles?
Boy, look here, boy. That paperwork is just like that motherfucking ID you walk around on these streets with. If you ain't got that, you ain't got shit. You gonna get treated, and your paperwork better be straight. I'm talking about better be straight. Always no safety valves, no none of this shit. Your shit better be straight. No 302s, no Rule 35s, no 5K1s, no none of that. No safety valves, no none of that shit. Niggas think the safety valve, goddamn me, is okay, but it's 5 criteria to the safety valve, and that 5th one, nigga, you gotta tell. Period, point blank. You gotta tell that 5th criteria. You gotta tell. So that's not okay. You know what I'm saying?
So Charles, you looking around, you talking to dudes from all over the world with your same story.
Yeah.
And what happens?
And shit, it didn't get me nowhere. I'm listening to you tell me, and I'm telling you me. What the fuck do that do for me? I had to realize that, now I ain't learning shit from you. So then I start distancing myself from that type of stuff. I started picking up. I got introduced to the book of the 48 Laws of Power. I got introduced to the rest of the, shit, I still can't pronounce, Sing Song, whatever the fuck his name is. All them books, the Art of Seduction, Art of War, all that. So I start reading, you know what I'm saying? And I started taking a few different classes, you know, getting myself out the mix. So, and I started learning things, I started working out, I started really transforming And I was always told you're gonna go out the same way you came in, and I really didn't care to hear that shit in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But once shit was getting to the end, my kids was getting older, and when I got to Elton, Ohio, them visits stopped once a year type shit.
You got released from Elton?
Nah, I ended up leaving there, going to Duluth, Minnesota, Duluth, back to the camp.
That's where you got released from?
That's where I got released from.
So you get out, you go back to the streets?
When I came home, yeah, I went back to the streets.
You wasn't finished?
It wasn't that I wasn't, I thought I was, but shit, life caught up real quick, and I had to get to it and get where I needed to go. And that's what I did.
Okay. You still in the street?
Nah.
Why not? It's still out there.
Yeah, it's still out there, but I'm still in here. You know
what
I'm saying?
What's going on with Charles now?
Man, with Charles now, man, shit. Charles got a beautiful lady. I got a host of children. I got several businesses, entrepreneurship.
What kind of business?
We have a restaurant / club. We got
you own the restaurant and the club?
Yes, I own a restaurant / club. Me and my lady own that together. Me and my son and my lady, we own the trucking company. We own a trucking company. We got
you got your own trucking company?
Yeah.
How many trucks you got?
Got 1 box truck and 7 cargo vans.
And you the owner?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my lady got home health care and adult daycare. And like we just one big ass team now, and it's like I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world, no matter how many ups and downs we go through. Like I go through this situation where I say me and my old lady we get into it. We live in buckfuck new suburban area of Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri. I would drive all the way back down to where I come from, and I would go down there, and like I said, I got a clean face, so I can go down there and still show my face and live my life if that's what I wanted to do. But I go down there to keep me in remembrance of why the fuck I don't need to be back down here, why I can't come back down here solely on my behalf, because I take a look at, like, when I met you today, you say, shit, we in the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? If I took you down to where I'm from, which was probably about 10 minutes from there, you'd be like, oh, Lord, what the hell? Even though you from where you from. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you grew up fucked up.
So Charles, people can change?
Man, listen. People can change. Me and my lady had this problem all the time because she has this thing where she think everybody the same. That's the wrong done and all that shit, right? And I constantly tell her, like, listen, I come from a background where I've been wrong my whole life. You know what I'm saying? But I don't bestow that on the next person that come into my life. I don't feel that just because Tony over there did this back then, you gonna do it to me too. Everybody got their own fresh shape, because everybody different. And change is inevitable. When you walk out this door, your mind gonna change. When you wake up in the morning, your mind gonna change 1,000,000 different times. And change is a beautiful thing. I'm on this camera, I'm a changed man. I used to cause chaos. Now I'm doing what I can to prevent chaos. I had a motto when I came home. Once I changed my car, I'm gonna say this: the RDAP program changed me.
I remember the RDAP.
RDAP changed me. RDAP is residential drug abuse program.
How? Change you how, John?
It changed my cognitive. It's not a drug program, it's a cognitive program. For those that may see this video that don't know what cognitive is, it's a thought process. And that's change. How you think and how you look at things is what makes you who you are. If you continue to look at the same things that you looked at before, nothing's gonna change. But if you turn around and think about something different to look at, everything change. You know what I'm saying? And so I teach, I do my best to teach our children and any child that come our way, like, listen, we always say that we want our people's lives to change. But in all actuality, they lives is not the first ones that we got to change. Because if we don't change our life first, we can't change their life. You know what I'm saying? So,
Charles, deep story, man. Give me, how can somebody get in touch with you, man? Your Instagram, your social media, if they want to come down to Lily P's and check your food out, or get into your trucking joint or the Medicaid, the health, all that shit you doing, man.
well, under one umbrella, you can reach all of that at Lily P's Diner on Facebook, Lily P's Diner on Instagram. You can reach us at Lily P's Diner 2019. What is it? Yeah, Lily P's Diner 2019.com.
Yo, all these links is underneath this video, man.
So also we do mentoring. We got a lot of things going on. We got a new program coming up. It's going to be an annual program for the youth. It's called Doodling with the Kids, where we doing some paint projects with the kids and the parents. You know, teaching the parents how to deal with interact with the children. We got a live puppet show. Our 7-year-old actually has a real craft in puppetry, and he's going to put on shows, and we're going to he's starting a YouTube channel. Also, he is we starting a podcast. It's going to be called Lily P's After Dark. Me and my lady, shout out to Tamika, out to my family. We got some beautiful things going on. Yeah, got some serious things coming up.
Hey, y'all, listen, man. All you young dudes out there, man, no matter how you feel, no matter what you're going through, you see that you can change your life, man. And my man Charles, a.k.a. Chunky, just sat down with us, St. Louis represent. Hey, Charles, I appreciate you for having me at Lily P's, man. All those links underneath this video, y'all reach out to Charles, man. Support everything he's got going on. Hey, Charles, kid, appreciate you, man.
Man, appreciate you too, Sean.
Peace.
Peace.